Current data and research shows that a person using Mounjaro can expect to, over the course of a year, lose around 25% of their body weight. In the 14 weeks that I've been using Mounjaro, I've lost 22% of my body weight, which for me is a 56-pound weight loss or a 4-stone weight loss, which is around 23 kilograms. In the year that I've been losing weight, I've lost 37% of my body weight, which for me is a 102-pound weight loss or 7 stone 4 pounds or around 45 kilograms. In this video, I wanted to share with you some of the changes that I've made to my daily lifestyle that have enabled me to continue to lose weight and hopefully will see me through to being able to maintain this weight for the rest of my life and a healthier lifestyle, including what I typically eat in a day. Hello, and for those of you who are returning, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new here, my name's Keely and I am logging my current weight loss journey with Mounjaro. Just as a really brief summary for those of you who are new here, I have spent most of my life dealing with an issue around food and weight loss and have very much, until the last 14 weeks, been trapped in a cycle of losing weight, gaining weight, trying every fad diet and trick probably known to man, and always ending up in a position where not only have I gained the weight back, but I've gained more weight than I had in the first place. And that cycle has dominated my life for nearly 2 decades now, actually over 2 decades now. And I just wanted to share with you in this video some of the lifestyle changes, mostly around food, that using Mounjaro and having the food voice turned off have enabled me to make. And the further I go along my journey, the more I realise that actually those changes have become ingrained and I'm no longer actively having to battle myself when it comes to food choices, because I'm naturally making the choices that are going to sustain me and equally do something for my body. It's not just around eating fewer calories, it's around what are those calories, what is the breakdown of that food going to do for me. The biggest thing that Mounjaro has done for me is it's turned off the food voice. And what that has meant for me is that I am not in a daily battle with myself. So I'm not fighting myself not to eat the thing that I want and then feeling that I'm depriving myself. And usually on any weight loss journey that I've done, be it Slimming World, Weight Watchers, what was once called the Cambridge diet, which is like very, very low calorie meal replacement shakes, Slim Fast, probably most of the diets, like soup diets. If you think about it, I've probably attempted it at some point, and every single time I would get to the point where I would lose a lot of weight really quickly and float on that, essentially be really, really motivated because I've lost 15 pounds in a week or I've lost 7 pounds in a week. And then the further down the line I would get with that, I would feel more and more and more conflicted because I was still battling myself. The weight losses would naturally get smaller or stall, and I would be disappointed, deflated, hungry, and also just battling myself in the food voice. And so it would get to a point where I couldn't sustain that anymore and I would end up in a binge cycle. So I would, as I said earlier, eat everything I wanted in a day because actually tomorrow that diet's going to start and I'm never going to eat chocolate or sweets or any of those things that I want again. And the reality is that that is not a sustainable way to live. And so for me, the food voice being turned off has meant that I've eliminated that. I'm not constantly thinking about food. It's as if it's like intuitive eating. I often, because my appetite fluctuates, sometimes I don't have an appetite at all, other days I'm really hungry, but I'm eating now because I need to eat, as opposed to before when I was eating all day, every day for emotions or boredom or just because food was there. Like fear of missing out, FOMO around food for me was massive. So I could be full and have eaten all day, meals, snacks. We're talking high levels of calories, so possibly anywhere up to 8,000 calories, and actually feel awful because all the food I was eating was processed rubbish. And then my other half might haven't not eaten all day, come home from work and say, I'm really hungry, I'm going to go and get a burger. And there was almost, I hope, maybe I'm the only one, if other people have felt like this, or this is something other people have felt, do put it in the comments, but that I was missing out by not having the burger. 8,000 calories that day already, and could possibly have just finished eating. I would feel like I was missing out if I didn't also get something. And so they're the biggest things. The second thing that Mounjaro has done, and now this may be a combination of Mounjaro and my stomach shrinking, or one or the other, but without doubt, Mounjaro is the overriding factor, is my appetite has significantly decreased. And so when I come on to talk about the foods that I eat shortly, what I have noticed is that actually portion control for me is not something I'm having to really significantly consider anymore, because naturally I just can't eat the same amount of food that I used to be able to. And so when I talk about intuitive eating, as I understand it, you eat when your body is hungry and you eat what your body needs. And I am doing that now because I have a combination of no food voice and also a significantly reduced appetite, which is two things I've never had. So even before, when I've lost, I think during the pandemic, I lost around 5.5 stone. Not in the healthiest of ways all the time. But even then, my appetite was still significant. I'd stopped myself eating, but that wasn't always easy, but I was still hungry and I was still capable of eating a lot more food. So what I am absolutely seeing this time round is that, probably similar to when you have like a gastric band or that sort of bariatric surgery, weight loss surgery, as I understand it, is that you lose weight because actually your ability to eat food is significantly reduced. Obviously that's quite an extreme version, I'm not suggesting it's like that, but I just don't feel, I eat very little and I am full very quickly. And again, that is something that I've never had on any weight loss journey before. I think for me, when I look at previous weight loss attempts that I've had, and as I said, I've been stuck in this weight loss attempt loop for about 20 years, is that they've never really addressed the key issue, and it's always been around losing as much weight as quickly as possible and thinking that was going to be sustainable, and always ending up in the same position of gaining all the weight back with more weight, and then thinking, right, okay, after that initial sort of despair sets in and then you're living your day-to-day life, it's okay, what am I going to do differently the next time? The next time I'm going to be sensible around what I eat. I'm not going to deprive myself. I'm not going to get in a binge starve cycle. I'm going to do all the things that I know you need to do. I'm going to eat when I need to. I'm going to eat what I need to sustain my body, to nurture my body. They're all the things I'm going to do. But inevitably, probably out of desperation, the next time that I would get into a weight loss cycle, and normally there was sort of a 2-3 year period in between, I'd get that motivation and I would go straight back to where I was, because actually, again, it was that desperation to feel freer, not feel trapped. Let's move on and live my life in the way that I imagined my life should be lived, that I couldn't do when I was so much larger. And the reduced appetite and the food voice being gone are the first time on any diet that I have ever been able to actually do the things I've always told myself that I would do in previous attempts. So in terms of how I eat now, I don't meal plan. And what I mean by that is when I go shopping, I have an idea of the meals and the things that I'm going to eat in that week and that we're going to eat as a family in that week. And I buy things that I know I'm going to want. But, and maybe I'm not the only one, but if I am regimented with a meal plan and let's say I know every day what meal is going to be cooked, or I batch cook, and then on Tuesday I've got a shepherd's pie, I can guarantee 9 times out of 10, come Tuesday, the last thing I feel like eating is a shepherd's pie, and then I'll naturally gravitate towards eating something else. So I'm not that regimented with it, but I buy food weekly that I know I'm going to want to eat, and I give myself a really good variety. Now, my suppression is very up and down, so there'll be days when I'm really, really hungry, and there'll be days when I have zero appetite, and that can sometimes go on for a few days. And initially, there was a real propensity to be like, oh my God, I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat. How many days could I go without eating? What weight could I lose? And very quickly, it was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't need to do that. And I will end up being, what was I, nearly 21 stone. I'll be 23 stone. And this needs to be about sustainability. And so even when I'm not hungry now, I have smaller meals throughout the day. I don't always eat all of them, but at least I know within that my body is getting nutrients, and it's sort of getting in a pattern that longer term is going to be much more sustainable. So for example, looking at this, look at last week, because it's Monday today. So if I look at what I ate last week, and I'll put some pictures up of the foods that I eat. I'm a bit of a creature of habit as well. So I go through food phases. So whereas some people won't eat the same meal 2 days on a row, I can be almost the opposite. I'll go weeks where all I want to do is eat the same food. And what I'm doing within that is, okay, what does my body need in a week? So for example, last week for breakfast, I had 3 different things. I had Greek yogurt with pineapple and some oats, or I've brought some high protein cereal, which I had with oat milk, or I just had a protein shake. So something I'm becoming much more aware of is the breakdown of that food. So I'm not macro counting, and I'm not strictly calorie counting. I'm just having an awareness. So I'm eating foods that I know are going to have a good source of protein, a good source of fiber, good source of healthy fats, and a sort of overview of the calories. And the overview of the calories comes from, because I have been on a diet for so many years, I have a very good understanding of what calories are in what food. Not down to the actual calorie, but I can guesstimate within 100 calories what is on my plate. And if I don't, and I'm worried or conscious about it, I have got, I think, is it NutriCheck or MyFitnessPal, and I use those tools to sort of give me an overall guidance. And something else that I'm conscious of, that I again, it's not dominating every day, but I'm aware of it because it's necessary to continue to lose weight and then eventually get to a maintenance, is my BMR. So my basal metabolic rate, I think is what that stands for. And my baseline BMR, if I were just to lie on the sofa or in bed, which I don't often get to do, actually I never get to do that all day unless I'm really, really sick, as a mum of 4 who works full time, is 1600. At 1622 is my BMR, my base rate BMR. And I'll just put a little chart up here of my BMR, and if I was sedentary, I think it's moderately, lightly active, moderately active. And so I stay as much as I can within about 400 calories of that. So let's just say I was not doing anything and I broke my leg, or I was really ill and I just stayed on the sofa or in bed. My BMR is 1622. I would aim to eat around 1200 calories that day. Not, as I said, not really, really strictly, but aim to do that. And within that, I would be making sure that I get a good source of protein, fiber, healthy fats, and go from that. That's not to say that I don't have days where I crave things. I do, and I find particularly when it comes to that time of the month, I will crave sweet things more. And how I'm managing that now is that I just have it. And when I talk about a reduced appetite, I mean, like, a couple of weeks ago I craved a Twix. I ate 1 stick of the Twix and I couldn't eat the other, and that just is not a Keely thing. That has never been a Keely thing. I talked about it before. My other half isn't a sweet tooth person, but he likes the occasional whisper and would have like a bite and then wrap it up. I could never imagine that being me, ever. Because it would be me that then followed him to the fridge and ate that, and a couple of weeks later he might go, oh, where's my Whisper gone? Well, that was gone within minutes of hitting the base of the fridge. So for me, I feel more that I'm able to allow myself those things because I'm more in control. So that's typically what I would have for breakfast. Now, prior to Mounjaro, I've never been a breakfast eater, and actually my routine around food would be, as I said, often I was caught in that cycle of eating whatever I wanted because my diet was going to start tomorrow, and then maybe having a day or two where I deprived myself, almost starved myself, and then couldn't sustain it. So, but breakfast has never been my thing, and I don't wake up now hungry. I just have breakfast because I know I should, and it's setting me up. So they are typically the breakfast things that I would go for. Carbohydrates have always been a really low point for me, so sort of like bread, pasta, as much as I love pasta, you know, those sorts of things, sort of very starchy, have always had a really detrimental impact on me. I've also got polycystic ovary syndrome, and I find that some of the symptoms of PCOS are exaggerated when I eat carbohydrates, and I had a very carb-based diet before, knowing it was in detriment and then suffering with it. Equally, I've been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, and again, the diet choices that I was making, the lifestyle choices I was making, were all in contrast to everything that I was told to do, which I knew anyway, to manage the side effects of IBS. And so now that is typically what I would have. I would say I don't really snack, but let's just say I don't manage to have breakfast, and there are mornings when I don't. I will make sure that by about 10 o'clock I have got a ready-made protein shake and a banana or something along those lines, or like a protein bar. Although a lot of the protein bars don't taste brilliant, and I tend to eat the protein bars that are the same make as the protein shakes that I get, which I'll put here. They've all got a bit of an artificial taste. They wouldn't be my first choice, and they're not comparable to, say, a Mars bar, but actually it tastes more like a chocolate bar than it does a protein bar, but there is an artificial taste to it. In terms of lunch, it's very much dominated by, am I working at home, is it the weekend, or am I in the office? If I'm in the office, there's not a set lunch time, and I typically won't eat. So something I was saying before, and then I lost track, sorry, is that actually most of my eating would be in the evening. So quite typically I would go all day without eating. A part of that being that psyche of, I'm not going to eat as much today, my diet has started, and I would be able to sustain that maybe throughout the day. So let's say if it was a work day and I was occupied, and then in the evening I would be ravenous. I would get home and I would eat like I had been stranded on a desert island for months. I would easily consume 5,000-6,000 calories in the space of a couple of hours, and eat right up until going to bed. There were times as well that I noticed in the year before I started to lose weight this time, I also found I was waking up in the middle of the night or the early hours of the morning and eating. So I would wake up and it could be 2 o'clock in the morning and I would eat. Now, part of that was that the food voice had become so out of control that if I knew there were things downstairs that were, I don't know, chocolate, biscuits, crisps, ice cream, anything like that, I would wake up and think about it, and I would go down and eat it. And that had become increasingly out of control. So still now, I'm conscious that I don't always eat when I'm in the office for various factors. And if I do, if I don't, sorry, again, I will have maybe a protein shake if I've not had one in the morning. Or I might go and grab a sandwich or sort of like a pre-boxed salad. But at home, if say it's a work day or on a weekend, I would typically try and aim to have my main meal around lunchtime. So, and then have a lighter meal in the evening. But typically if I'm at home, for example, one of the things I'm really, really enjoying at the moment, which has got a really good sort of distribution of the food groups, is steak, avocado, egg and beef tomatoes. And I think, I wrote it down, that's around a 618 calorie meal. And the reason for that is I wouldn't eat a whole steak. I'm not eating a whole avocado. So I'm having half an avocado, which is around 120 calories. I'm having probably not even half a steak, which is around 400. And then the egg and the beef tomato, and beef tomato is about 20 calories. And again, I wouldn't eat that. So it's around 618 calories. But that's really sufficient. And actually, if I'm eating that for lunch, I'm then not finding that I want to eat again for the rest of the day. And there have been days where I don't, but I am conscious of going that long without food. One of the side effects that I have been getting on Mounjaro is sort of real dizziness. And so that's amplified, obviously, if you go really long periods of time without food, because your blood sugar level is still going to dip, even if you're not feeling hungry, which previously might be an indicator. So that for me at the moment is one of my go-to meals that I know has got. I also have previously suffered with anemia, and it's the iron, and I really enjoy steak. Like if I got stranded somewhere and they said, what one food could you eat for the rest of your life, it would probably be steak. I like rare steak, controversial, but that for me is it's tasty. It feels like a treat, and I eat it and I feel like it's doing something for my body, but equally I'm conscious that it's red meat, and I very much limit how much red meat I'm eating now, which is amazing, because again, these are things I just never thought about before. So they're really my go-to. Another go-to lunch that I would have typically if I'm at home is salmon and eggs in any way. Quite like scrambled eggs with just salmon, or an omelette with salmon, and I would put some peppers in, some cheese, and probably some cucumber on the side, or a stir fry with pak choy chicken or prawns. Really enjoy prawns, so I could have sort of egg noodles. And again, we're looking at about a 400 or 500 calorie meal, because also I'm having so much less of it as well. So they're really my lunch, my go-to lunches at the moment. Or something, for example, like chicken wings. Love chicken wings, and I'm quite happy. I don't do spicy, so salt and pepper chicken wings for me, a couple of those with a little bit of salad, and I'm away. I just really consciously try to avoid foods with a lot of carbohydrates. So sandwiches, for example, I really limit those. As I said, it's a little bit different. If it's the weekend or I'm working from home, I will try and have my main meal around lunchtime. And that's because one of the things that I recognise is that if I eat late, I feel really, really bloated, and I feel all of the effects that you feel when you're bloated. You feel lethargic, you feel a bit rubbish. So I don't eat after 7 o'clock. Now, unless for some reason, let's say I was travelling back from work and I got stuck on one of the motorways and I didn't get in till late, that's a bit different. But on an average day, I'm sort of stopping eating after 7 o'clock. So I'll have my meal or snacks or whatever it is, and then 7 o'clock I don't eat after that. That works really well for me. I feel better. I don't feel lethargic. I don't wake up feeling sluggish or really bloated. So that works really well for me. If I am at work, or there is a reason I haven't had my main meal at lunch, I will pretty much have whatever I want for dinner. Partly because I know that I've got such a decreased appetite that actually I'm not overeating anyway. So, for example, and I will put recipes for things in the description, I like lasagna. Lasagna is one of my favourite foods, as is pizza. And I make lasagna from scratch. So I make my own lasagna sauce, white sauce, and the recipe will be down below. And I know that that's about... So I get a lot of... I tailor my recipes to my own style, or my family's style if I tailor it too far and they don't like it, as they remind me I am not Jamie Oliver or Gordon Ramsay. But I often get a lot of my recipes online, and the BBC recipes often have the nutritional breakdown. So for example, the lasagna that I make, which I make all the own sauce and so on, per portion has 580 calories. And with lasagna, I would make garlic bread. I wouldn't necessarily eat the garlic bread now, but I would have a salad alongside it, and that's around 580, 650 calories with the salad, depending on how much of the lasagna I eat. Or again, steak, chicken wings again, curry if I feel like it. I just swap with pasta. So with the lasagna, the good thing is that the sauce that you make is really transferable to other meals, particularly like Italian style dishes. So I will make up this sauce and then it can be used for pasta, as pasta sauce in the following days, which again, you're able to control the amount of sugar and salt you use in that, and it really is just vegetables. So it, you know, it's low calories anyway, really just accounting for the olive oil. And then I would have pasta the following day. I am actively making a choice that if I am going to have carbohydrates like rice, bread, pasta, I'm using wholemeal. Initially I was a bit like, I just don't like the taste of it. I can be a little bit childish in some of my approaches to food tastes, and I've never been a huge fan of rice, dating back as a kid, but I've made those switches, and actually now that I've used them for so long, I don't really notice, and I just naturally gravitate towards buying them at the supermarket. And I still buy white bread, for example. As I mentioned previously, my youngest son has autism and he's very, very, very restrictive with his food. So, you know, I still have to buy certain foods that I know he's going to like, which even sometimes he won't eat those. So, but I'm not finding that as much as an issue as I did at first. Initially, particularly with bread, when I switched from wholemeal bread, it was like, oh, what I want is a bacon sandwich with brown sauce. That might be controversial, I don't know, and white bread, and that's what I wanted. And I felt annoyed that it didn't taste the same, and it didn't feel so much as something that I enjoyed. But actually now I don't really know. I do notice the difference, but it doesn't bother me anymore, and I'm not bloated, and I'm not struggling with any of those like bad skin or just any of those symptoms that I know that those foods did to me before, and I don't at this point miss them. So for me, like for example with the roast dinner, we had a roast dinner yesterday, and I was lucky enough I didn't have to cook it. It was a full roast dinner. It had all the trimmings, it had mac and cheese, it had stuffing, it had Yorkshire puddings, it was beef, all of the trimmings, and I ate probably just under half of what was already a much more reduced size than previous Keely would eat. So, you know, I'm not so worried about, oh my God, I can't have that because it's so fattening and it's got so many calories, because I already know that I'm going to remain under my calories because I'm not eating anywhere near the amount. And I was, like I said, I was full after under half a plate, and I had that yesterday at about 4 o'clock, and then I didn't eat again because I just wasn't hungry. If I'm really, really, really not hungry, I will go for something a lot lighter, like a salad and with a bit of pre-cooked chicken, or some prawns for some protein. And I do try and get I try and get between 3 and 5 portions of fruit and veg in a day. And I drink now every single day 2 litres of water, if not maybe sometimes more. And I consciously, it's not that I don't like the taste of water, I just struggle to remind myself to drink. And so I actively have to remind myself. And how I manage that is I have a 2 litre bottle of water, and I have it with me all day, and I drink that all day. And sometimes I drink it quite quickly and I need more, or other times I just drink that, but I am drinking as a baseline 2 litres of water a day. Those are really, for me, the three main food rules that I stick to. I drink 2 litres of water a day, I don't eat after 7 o'clock, and I'm conscious of the foods that I'm putting in. I did record a park run that I did, but I, in all honesty, didn't want to post it. The footage wasn't great, and it literally was just me struggling to breathe for about 36 minutes. And I was a very, very odd shade of purple, a little bit darker than that humidifier. And I just deleted it because it was horrific and it wasn't something that I wanted to have to watch when editing. So I've done one, and that's the positive thing, because that was one of my targets for August. So I'm going to work on continuing to record those and hopefully upload. I've been to the gym 3 times a week for the last couple of weeks, and that's something I want to do, mostly because I'm paying for the membership, so I would like to use it. And as a baseline, I do 10,000 steps a day, and I record on the Apple Watch. I am going to get a different smartwatch because the Apple Watch battery is terrible. If I'm checking it a few times a day and I'm active, by 7 o'clock at night it's 10% battery, and I'm also not sure that it's accurate in terms of logging calories and steps, so I am looking at getting a different smartwatch. But for me, they are the main changes that having the food voice and a decreased appetite have enabled me to make. I'm much more conscious of food. I stick to around a 400 calorie deficit from my BMR every day. So as I said, if I'm sedentary, my BMR is 1622, I'll eat around 1200 calories. If I'm really, really active, I think it's just over, if I'm the optimum active that I could be, it's just over 3000 calories. And I would eat around, if I could, 2500 calories, if I could eat that many. And for me, that's how I know that this is a game changer, is that I've never felt comfortable eating a lot of calories and eating foods that I want to eat. I've never felt good about doing that, and I've always felt like I was failing on my diet if I did do those things, and I don't feel like that now. And in that regard, that's why I feel that this is sustainable, because I'm eating more than I've ever eaten on any diet. Even when I don't want to eat, I'm eating, and I'm eating the things that I know my body needs. And if I feel like something that my body doesn't need, but my brain wants, I eat it. And I'm quite confident that I'm not going to be sat there eating a family size bag of Maltesers, although it's family size. I mean, that's like 2-3 Maltesers each in a family of my size, so it's not really family size, but you know what I mean. I know that that's not going to happen. I don't have FOMO anymore about food. I can eat a little bit of what I want and not feel compelled to eat the whole bag just because they're there, and I there might be something magical in the bottom of that bag and I want to get to it. So they are the key things that I have changed, and without Mounjaro I wouldn't be able to do that. And I suppose a part of the reason that I have created this channel is, one, because it's to form a support network and a bit of a community around what I'm doing, but equally because actually I've spent my whole life looking for the answers to what was keeping me trapped and miserable, which was weight for me. And if my only regret is that I didn't do this sooner. If somebody had said to me a year or 2 years ago, this will absolutely change your life, and all of those pitfalls that you have had with food, they will be answered. All of those promises that you made to yourself every time you quote unquote failed previously would be different. That would have changed my life. And whilst I'm not suggesting that is what I'm doing, actually just having somebody probably who's been through all the pitfalls that we've all been through and saying, I have really found something that has changed my life and is freeing, is massive. And that's what I found in the community, the weight loss community, and online in various different ways. And what's really good, I suppose, at the moment is that you can combine Mounjaro with so many things. People are doing it alongside Slimming World and Weight Watchers, and you know, there's an acceptance around that. There still also isn't, and there's still a lot of criticism. And I was on Facebook, and I've now come off of Facebook because of some not very pleasant messages I received from people I know about how I shouldn't be talking about this, and how I'm promoting a really unhealthy lifestyle. And I thought, you know what, I wasn't on Facebook before for the exact reason of Facebook, and I just came off of it, I just deleted it. So yeah, that's why I've started this channel, and hopefully some of what I've shared today, and I'll put some pictures up, and as I said, the recipes of the foods I eat will be in the description, and if you do want any recipes, let me know. Equally, David shared with me some recipes for a hoisin wrap, that might not be how you say it, and a naan bread pizza, and I didn't make them, my other half did, and they are both amazing. So I don't think I followed David's recipe exactly, maybe with the wrap I did, and I didn't cook it, so I didn't follow it at all, sorry, but they were amazing. So if anybody, or David or anybody else, has got any other food suggestions, please do put them in the description, because I at some point will get fed up with the things that I'm eating now, and I do want new ideas, so that's what I'll do. And David, I am just going to put, I hope you don't mind, the recipes that you gave me in the description, with the alterations that weren't made by me, because they were really nice, and I'm someone that loves pizza, and unless it's actual pizza, I'm always a bit like, it's not going to be the same. These were really, really nice. So yeah, I will put those in. I hope this has been helpful. If anybody's got any questions or anything they would like me to answer or talk about, or a more detailed food diary, I don't know, just let me know. But please do like and subscribe and leave comments. It's amazing, and I really do hope this has been helpful. But the one message I would reiterate is, if you are thinking about using Mounjaro, or you're skeptical because it's just another weight loss fad, I have found this is the only thing for me ever that hasn't been a fad, that has enabled me to make the changes I always promised myself I would make every other time that a weight loss journey hasn't been successful. Whilst editing the video, I lost the end, and it's a mammoth video, so if anybody is still watching and has made it to this point, well done. It's borderline the film Titanic length at this point, so a bit of a marathon. I hope it's been helpful, but I do just want to reiterate that for anybody thinking of starting a weight loss journey with Mounjaro or another weight loss jab, it has absolutely changed my life, and I finally feel in a good place with myself, with food, with the changes that I've made, and I feel like I'm honouring the promises I always made myself. So if you're hesitant, just get medical advice, and it has absolutely changed my life in all of the positive ways, and I can't speak highly enough about it. But enough from me. Have a nice rest of the evening or morning or whenever I upload this. Bye.